Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another video on the channel. Thank you so much for all the support on the previous videos, it really does mean a lot. But please remember to like and subscribe to the channel because there's a lot of exciting content coming this year. So please stay on this journey with me and please support the channel as well. Today's video is going to be yet another different video. We are going to dig deeper into the English Football League. And we are going to do the predictions for SkyBet League One this week. This is the last weekend. This is the last three fixtures for teams now this week. The season finishes in a week's time. So we'll see who gets the automatic promotion places, who gets a playoff place, and who gets relegated. So let's get straight into it. The first game on Saturday, the first 3 o'clock, is at the Wham Stadium between Accrington Stanley and Lincoln City. We'll look at the last 6 fixtures for each team then, and then make a prediction. So on March the 25th, Accrington lost 2-1 at home to Gillingham. April the 2nd, they then drew 4-4 at home to Cheltenham. April the 5th, they lost 3-0 away at Wigan Athletic. April the 9th, they won 2-1 away at Fleetwood. April the 15th, they drew 0-0 at home to Burton Albion. And April the 18th, which is recently, they are coming off a 3-1 away defeat at Bolton Wanderers. Lincoln City, on the other hand, March the 26th, they lost 1-0 away at Shrewsbury Town. April the 2nd, they won 2-1 away at Charlton. April the 5th, they drew 1-1 away at Fleetwood. April the 9th, they lost 3-1 at home to Wigan Athletic. April the 15th, they lost 3-2 away at Portsmouth. And recently, April the 18th, they won 3-0 at home to Cheltenham Town. So we'll look at the league standings then for each team. Accrington Stanley are currently sat in 15th place on 55 points with 44 games played. And Lincoln, probably a very underwhelming season from Lincoln's point of view. They are sat in 18th place on 49 points with 44 games played. So, yeah, as I said, Lincoln, a very underwhelming season from their point of view. Michael Appleton in charge there. They'd probably thought they'd be challenging for the playoffs this year because that's where they've been in recent years. So very disappointing from their point of view. Accrington Stanley, good mid-table position again. Lower mid-table for them. I think their goal is just to stabilise in League One for a few years and then hopefully with a little bit of an investment they can start moving up the table. But John Coleman in charge there, done a very good job. A good little club, Accrington, just up the road from me. Very hard game to predict because, as I said, they're both not going to go down. They're not going up. So it's just going to be an end of a season game. I'm going to go a 2-2 draw between these two teams because I just don't see anything separating them. Accrington have their threats. Lincoln have their threats. Both not great defensively with looking at their goal difference as well. So yeah, 2-2 draw. Nothing else left to say on that game. Going to the next one then. We've got Charlton versus Shrewsbury at the Valley. We'll go through the last 6 results for each team. Charlton, March the 26th, they won 1-0 away at Doncaster. April the 2nd, they lost 2-1 at home to Lincoln City. April the 5th, they drew 1-1 away at AFC Wimbledon. April the 9th, they won 1-0 away at Rotherham. April the 15th, they lost 3-2 at home to Markham, very damaging defeat for them. And April the 19th, recently, they won 2-0 away at Cambridge. Shrewsbury then, March the 19th, they won 3-0 away at Rotherham. March the 26th, they won 1-0 at home to Lincoln. April the 2nd, they lost 2-0 away at MK Dons. April the 9th, they drew 1-1 at home to Ipswich Town. April the 15th, they lost 3-2 away at Sunderland. And recently, they are coming off a 3-3 home draw to Doncaster Rovers. So we'll quickly look at the positioning in the table for each team. Charlton, the home team, currently sits in 13th position on 56 points with 44 games played. And Shrewsbury currently sits in 17th place on 50 points with 44 games played. So again, two middle of the table teams. Charlton, really bad season from their point of view. I think they had Nigel Atkins at the start of the season, sacked him, brought in Johnny Jones, is it? Johnny Jackson. Had a really good start under him. And around October to December time, got themselves up there, then just slipped off again with defeats. They've got Connor Washington up front, Stockley as well, up there for them. Shrewsbury Town, decent season for them, manages to avoid relegation. I think they've got a striker in Issa as well up front, really good threat, causing problems. Nothing to really separate the two teams, to be honest. Really hard game to predict again, but I'm going to go with a 2-1 home win for Charlton. I just see Charlton having that little bit too much more quality for them, especially going forward with Washington, Stockley, and a few other players they've got as well, like Blackett-Taylor as well, Corey Blackett-Taylor, who they got from Tranmere Rovers. Jason Pearce at the back, really experienced defender. Sean Clare as well, really promising defender. Alex Gilby, Albion Morgan, Adam Matthews. So really good experience there for Charlton. And I think that experience will get them through with being home, with having a home crowd as well. So I'm going to go 2-1 to Charlton. Okay, we'll go on to the next one then. We've got Cheltenham versus Bolton at the Johnny Rock Stadium. We'll go over the last 6 fixtures, 6 results then, and make a prediction. March the 22nd, Cheltenham lost 2-0 away at Plymouth Argyle. March the 26th, they then lost 4-1 away at Sheffield Wednesday. April the 2nd, they drew 4-4 away at Accrington Stanley. April the 9th, they then beat Portsmouth 1-0 at home. And April the 15th, they drew 2-2 at home to Gillingham. And recently, they're coming off a 3-0 away defeat at Lincoln City. Bolton Wanderers, March the 19th, they won 1-0 away at Crewe Alexandra. April the 2nd, they drew 1-1 at local rivals Wigan Athletic. April the 5th, they then drew 1-1 at home to Portsmouth. April the 9th, they then drew 1-1 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. April the 15th, they won 2-1 away at Doncaster Rovers. And most recently, they're coming off a 3-1 home win against Accrington Stanley. So, Bolton looks like they're in great form, getting points from Wigan, Portsmouth, Sheffield Wednesday, and beating teams around them as well, like Accrington Stanley. And teams at the bottom as well, like you'd expect. So Bolton are in decent form in this one. Cheltenham, mixed form, losing to teams at the top, but drawing to teams around them, conceding a lot of goals, Cheltenham as well. 4 against Sheffield Wednesday, 4 against Accrington, 2 against Gillingham, 3 against Lincoln, 2 against Plymouth. So they're very poor defensively, Cheltenham. And I think that's somewhere that Bolton can exploit, especially going forward with their players like Dion Charles. They got Bodvarsson as well with his height. Afolayan as well, good player. Kachunga. Aaron Morley in midfield. And they've got Santos at the back, Williamson as well, with a good promising keeper in James Trafford. So it's something that Bolton could exploit, and I do think Bolton will win this game. But we'll look at the league standings anyway for each of these. Cheltenham currently sits in 14th position on 55 points with 44 games played, and Bolton sits in a respectable 10th position on 67 points with 44 games played. So yeah, two mid-table teams, probably overachieved to be honest, but well deserved to them. I do see Bolton winning this game, as I've said, so I'm going to go with a 3-1 away win for Bolton Wanderers in this game. I just see them having too much quality. They're higher up in the table. They're in the better form. So yeah, I see Bolton Wanderers finishing the season on a high and probably pushing to get to them playoffs next year. So I'm going to go 3-1 to Bolton Wanderers. Okay, we'll go into the next one then. We've got Crewe Alexandra versus Ipswich Town at the Mornflake Stadium. We'll go through the last 6 results and make a prediction. March the 19th, Crewe lost 1-0 at home to Bolton. April the 2nd, they lost 3-1 at home to Fleetwood Town. April the 5th, they lost 2-1 away at MK Dons. April the 9th, they lost 2-0 away at Doncaster Rovers. April the 15th, they did beat AFC Wimbledon 3-1 at home, but recently coming off a 1-0 away defeat at Sheffield Wednesday. Ipswich Town, however, March the 19th, they drew 1-1 away at Oxford. March the 26th, they beat Plymouth Argyle 1-0 at home. April the 2nd, they lost 1-0 at home to Cambridge United. March the 9th, they drew 1-1 away at Shrewsbury Town. April the 16th, they lost 1-0 away at Rotherham. And they're recently coming off a 2-2 home draw against Wigan Athletic. So we will look at the league standings then. Crewe are currently bottom and already relegated in 24th place on 28 points with 44 games played. And Ipswich are currently sat in 11th position on 66 points with 44 games played. Ipswich, new manager Kieran McKenna, left Manchester United a few months ago. Got Ipswich in quite a bit of form, but they just can't seem to turn them draws into wins, like the Wigan game, the Shrewsbury game, the Oxford game, teams that he needed to beat to get in and around them playoffs. Crewe, really disappointing season. They sacked their manager, John Artell, was it? Due to being relegated, and they had a really good season last year, but they just couldn't back it up. I don't think they had the financials. The league was a lot stronger this year. So hopefully they can go down and bounce back straight back up next season, but it just hasn't been their year. Ipswich, very poor season. They should be up and around them playoffs. They're a championship club, really, with their fan base. They've got some good players in. James Norwood, Connor Chaplin, Sam Morsey, Wes Burns, Wolfenden, Burgess, Christian Walton in goal. So they have got some good players, Macaulay Bonner as well. Good players that should be challenging at that top end of the table, really. But in this game, I am going to give Ipswich the 3 points. I'm going to go with a 3-1 away win for Ipswich Town. They just have so much more quality than Crewe. Crewe are down. They're like a wounded animal. They could come out and play with freedom, could get something. But I think the quality of Ipswich will come through in the end, and I'm going to go with a 3-1 away win for Ipswich Town. Okay, we'll go into the next one then. We've got Doncaster Rovers versus Burton Albion. Let's go through the last 6 results and make a prediction. March the 19th, Doncaster drew 0-0 away at Fleetwood Town. March the 26th, they then lost 1-0 at home to Charlton Athletic. April the 2nd, they lost 2-0 away at Wycombe Wanderers. April the 9th, they did beat Crewe Alexandra 2-0 at home. And April the 15th, they lost 2-1 at home to Bolton Wanderers, but they are coming off a 3-3 away draw at Shrewsbury Town. Burton Albion then, March the 19th, they lost 2-0 away at Charlton Athletic. April the 2nd, they lost 3-0 away at Markham. April the 9th, they drew 0-0 at home to Plymouth Argyle. April the 12th, they drew 0-0 at home to Wigan Athletic. April the 15th, they drew 0-0 away at Accrington Stanley. And April the 19th, they recently beat Rotherham by 2-0. So we'll look at the away team first, Burton Albion. They had them 2 disappointing defeats in March and start of April. But then they had 3 successive 0-0 draws and a 2-0 win recently. So they have stabled up a lot at the back. They've got 4 successive clean sheets, 3 of them being 0-0s. But they've got a point from the game because, as you say, if you keep a clean sheet, you're guaranteed something. So, yeah, they've recently beat Rotherham, promotion chasing Rotherham, which was a good result. Burton have players like Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, John Brayford, Harry Chapman, Uma Nias, a former Everton striker up front, Joe Powell in the number 10, Ben Garrett in goal as well, and Jacob Maddox a striker, I think he is. So they have got some quality to hurt Doncaster. Doncaster, on the other hand, are in the bottom 3, as the league table says. Doncaster are currently in 23rd position on 34 points, and Burton are sat in 16th place on 53 points with 44 games played. So this is a must-win for Doncaster. They can still mathematically survive, but if they win this, if they lose this or don't get a victory, they will be relegated. So it is a must-win game for Doncaster. It really, really is. Fleetwood have a game in hand on them, so even if they get a point, they will still go down because they've only got 2 games remaining, Doncaster. Burton comfortably in mid-table. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank returned there this season. As I said, really stabilised at the back. 4 successive clean sheets. A victory coming against Rotherham last match. And I do think Burton will back this up with another win. And I'm sorry, Doncaster, but you will be relegated. I'm going to go with a 2-1 away win for Burton Albion. I think Doncaster will score because they have got some alright players going forward. But I think Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank will set his team up well to continue their good run of form in front of goal. And defensively as well. They will concede, but I think they will get another 3 points to stabilise their mid-table position. So I am going to go 2-1 away win for Burton Albion. Okay, we've got Fleetwood Town versus AFC Wimbledon. This is a massive, massive game at the bottom of the table at the Highbury Stadium. We will go through the last 6 results and make a prediction. March the 19th, Fleetwood drew 0-0 at home to Doncaster. April the 2nd, Crewe, they beat 3-1 away. April the 5th, they drew 1-1 at home to Lincoln City. April the 9th, they lost 2-1 at home to Accrington Stanley. April the 5th, they lost 3-2 at home to Oxford. And recently coming off a 0-0 away draw at Gillingham. Wimbledon, on the other hand, March the 26th, they lost 1-0 at home to Cambridge. They then lost 2-1 away at Sheffield Wednesday on April the 2nd. On April the 5th, they drew 1-1 at home to Charlton Athletic. April the 9th, they drew 1-1 at home against their fierce rivals MK Dons. April the 15th, they lost 3-1 away at Crewe Alexandra. And recently coming off a 1-1 home draw against Wycombe Wanderers. Let's look at the league table then. Fleetwood currently sits in 21st position on 39 points with 43 games played. And Wimbledon currently sits in 22nd place on 36 points with 44 games played. So this is a massive game for AFC Wimbledon as well. I think if AFC Wimbledon lose this, they will be relegated. Despite Fleetwood having a game in hand because he just wouldn't be able to catch them. So it's a massive, massive game for Wimbledon as well. We could find out the rest of the League One teams to be relegated this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see. Fleetwood, if they win this, they probably will survive. Well, they will survive, probably. Massive game at the bottom of League One, this. Both got terrible defences, both not in great form. But can one of them pull a result out the bag to save their season? Let's hope, wait and see. I am going to go with a 2-2 draw in this. I don't see anything separating them. They're just both bad defensively. They can both get a goal, but I don't think any of them will want to lose. But I do see the end of AFC Wimbledon in League One. I do see the confirmation of them going down this weekend anyway, with Fleetwood having that game in hand, but we will see. So yeah, my prediction for this one is a 2-2 draw, but if anyone wins it, credit to them, because you would have saved your season going down to the last day. So let's get straight into the next one. We've got MK Dons versus Markham. MK Dons flying high in League One. Markham down at the bottom as well, but probably are safe. It's at Stadium. MK will go through the last 6 results and make a prediction. March the 15th, they won 1-0 away at Cambridge. April the 2nd, they then beat Shrewsbury Town 2-0 at home. April the 5th, they then beat Crewe Alexandra at home by 2-1. April the 9th, they drew 1-1 away at their fierce rivals, Wimbledon. April the 16th, they lost 3-2 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. And they're recently coming off another away defeat at Oxford United. Markham, March the 19th, they lost 4-1 away at Wigan Athletic. April the 2nd, they won 3-0 at home against Burton Albion. April the 5th, they then beat Oxford at home by 2-1. April the 9th, they then travelled to Cambridge and lost by 2-1. April the 15th, they then beat Charlton by 3-2 at the Valley. And recently coming off a 1-1 home draw to Pompey, Portsmouth. Let's look at the league table then. MK Dons are currently sat in 3rd place, level on points with Rotherham in 2nd, on 83 points with 44 games played. Markham are sat in 19th place on 42 points with 44 games played. Markham are safe. They are mathematically safe, to be honest. They can't be caught. You could say they've had a really good season. The debut season in League One. Really, really tough for them. Cole Stockton has been the difference for them up front, their top scorer. MK Dons, quality players they have, MK Dons. Yes, they're coming off back-to-back defeats, but what a season they're having. We've just got Twine up front here in Boateng, Troy Parrott, Connor Coventry. They've got McEachran as well, Corbenu, who's a former Sheffield Wednesday player, Brandon Mason, Jack Davis, and a good manager in Liam Manning as well. A really unknown manager has come in and done wonders with them since Russell Martin left for Swansea in the summer. Really, really good. I do see MK Dons winning this. I'm going to go with a 3-1 home win for MK Dons. They just have so much more quality. I think they will go back to winning ways and will take it down to the final day with Rotherham for an automatic promotion place. So that's my prediction for MK Dons versus Markham, 3-1 to MK Dons. Okay, we'll go into the next one then. We've got Portsmouth versus Gillingham. Last 6 games, Portsmouth, March the 19th, they drew 0-0 at home to Wycombe Wanderers. April the 5th, they travelled to Bolton Wanderers and drew by 1-1. April the 9th, they travelled to Cheltenham and lost by 1-0. April the 12th, they then beat Rotherham by 3-0 at home. April the 15th, they then played Lincoln City at home and won by 3-2. And they're recently coming off an away draw at Markham. Gillingham, March the 19th, they drew 0-0 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. March the 26th, they won 2-1 away at Accrington Stanley. April the 2nd, they lost 1-0 at Sunderland. April the 9th, they drew 1-1 at home to Wycombe Wanderers. And April the 15th, which is recently, they drew 2-2 away at Cheltenham and 0-0 at home to Fleetwood. So we'll quickly look at the league standings. Portsmouth are currently sat in 9th position on 67 points with 43 games played. And Gillingham, who have somehow survived this season, are currently sat on 40 points with 44 games played. I'd say they need another point, but they are pretty much safe if Fleetwood beat Wimbledon. Gillingham, Portsmouth are in the better form at the moment with 2 wins and a draw out the last 3 matches, 7 points out the last 9. I don't think Portsmouth's got an outside chance of the playoffs, to be honest. 6th place. No, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. They'll just miss out, Portsmouth, which will be a disappointing season for them again because they've got a massive fan base. They're a big club in League One and they're stuck in this league for yet another season under the Cowley brothers. Hopefully they'll be able to build and get promoted next season, but it just hasn't been their year this year. They've ran out of games at the wrong time. In this game, I am going to go with a 2-1 home win for Portsmouth. I think they just have that little bit too much quality than Gillingham. They are in the better form. They've got home crowd. So yeah, 2-1 home win for Pompey. We'll go on to the next one then. We've got Rotherham versus Oxford. Last 6 games, Rotherham, March the 19th, they lost 3-0 at home to Shrewsbury Town. April the 2nd, they beat Sutton United in the Papa John's Trophy final by 4-2 after extra time at Wembley. April the 9th, they lost 1-0 at home to Charlton. April the 12th, they lost 3-0 away at Portsmouth. And April the 16th, they lost 1-0 at home. They won 1-0 at home to Ipswich, and recently coming off a 2-0 away defeat at Burton Albion. Oxford, March the 19th, they drew 1-1 at home to Ipswich. April the 2nd, they lost 1-0 away at Plymouth Argyle. April the 5th, they lost 2-1 away at Markham. April the 9th, they lost 2-1 at home to Sunderland. April the 15th, they did win 3-2 at Fleetwood and recently beat MK Dons by 1-0. So we'll look at the league table. Rotherham are currently sat in the last automatic promotion place on goal difference on 83 points with 43 games played. And Oxford are sat in 8th place on 75 points with 44 games played. If Oxford still want an outside chance of these playoffs, they do need to win their remaining 2 fixtures and hope results go their way. Rotherham, good players in Matt Smith up front, talisman for them, who scored in the last victory. They've got players like Oliver Rathbone, Ben Wiles, Ogbeni as well up front, Lindsay. Good players in their captain, Hiwikwe as well. Richard Wood, experienced centre-back, will bring the experience towards the end of the season. Shane Ferguson as well. And a good manager in Paul Warne as well, who's been there a couple of years now, took them up and down out the Championship. Oxford, good manager in Carl Robinson. As I said, if they want an outside chance of the playoffs, they're going to have to win their remaining fixtures and score quite a considerable amount of goals as well, and hope results go their way. But unfortunately for Oxford, your playoff hopes are over, as I'm going with a 2-1 win for Rotherham. I think Rotherham will nearly pretty much clinch promotion as well this weekend with a victory over Oxford. So that's my prediction for that one. 2-1 home win for Rotherham. Straight into the next one then, we've got Sunderland versus Cambridge. Quickly go over the last 6 results for each team. March the 12th, Sunderland beat Crewe 2-0 at home. March the 19th, they drew 0-0 away at Lincoln City. April the 2nd, they beat Gillingham 1-0 at home. April the 9th, they won 2-1 at Oxford. April the 15th, they won 3-2 at home to Shrewsbury, and recently coming off a 0-0 away draw at Plymouth. Cambridge, March the 26th, they won 1-0 away at Wimbledon. April the 2nd, they won 1-0 at Ipswich Town. April the 5th, they lost 4-1 at home to Wycombe Wanderers. April the 9th, they won 2-1 at home to Markham. April the 16th, they beat Wigan Athletic 2-1 away from home. And April the 19th, they lost 2-0 away at home to Charlton. Look at the league table then. Sunderland currently sits in 7th place outside the playoffs by 1 goal. Cambridge sit in 12th place on 57 points with 44 games played. Very respectable season for Cambridge. First season back in League One. Very respectable start. Had a really good cup run as well in both competitions. They can hold their heads up high this season and say it's been a very good season. Sunderland, on the verge of the playoffs. They need a few slip-ups up and around them for them to sneak into them playoffs, but I do think they will be favourites for the playoffs based on their recent form. I am going to go with a Sunderland home win. I'm going to go 3-1 to Sunderland. I just think the quality they have up front is frightening at times when they're all clicking. They've got Luke O'Neill, Jack Clark, Ross Stewart, Nathan Broadhead, who's in good form, Lyndon Gooch, Jay Matete, Elliot Embleton. So many good players from midfield as well who get involved. Patrick Roberts off the bench, Corey Evans off the bench, Danny Bath off the bench. Really good experienced players as well at this level. And I do think they will be favourites for the playoffs, and I do think they will get there. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 home win for Sunderland. Okay, let's go into the next one then. We've got the club that I've been watching this season. We've got Wigan Athletic versus Plymouth. This is a massive game for Wigan because if they get victory, they will clinch promotion back to the Championship. Let's get straight into the last 6 results then. April the 2nd, Wigan drew 1-1 at home to local rivals Bolton. April the 5th, they won 3-0 at home to Accrington Stanley. April the 9th, they won 3-1 away at Lincoln City. April the 12th, they drew 0-0 away at Burton Albion. April the 16th, they lost 2-1 at home to Cambridge United. And recently coming off a 2-2 away draw to Ipswich Town. Plymouth Argyle. March the 22nd, they won 2-0 at home to Cheltenham. March the 26th, they lost 1-0 at Ipswich Town. April the 2nd, they beat Oxford by 1-0. April the 9th, they drew 0-0 at Burton Albion. April the 15th, they lost 2-0 away at Wycombe Wanderers. And recently coming off a 0-0 home draw to Sunderland. So let's look at the league standings. As I said, Wigan are currently sat top spot on 88 points with 43 games played. And Plymouth are currently in 5th place on 79 points with 44 games played. So it's a massive weekend for Wigan. If they can beat Plymouth, they could clinch promotion back to the Championship. What a great season they had. I've been to watch Wigan this season. They played some exceptional football. Got some good players in Callum Lang, Will Keane, Josh McGuinness, James McLean, Max Power. Let's just have a look at some of the players they've got as well. Ben Amos in goal, really experienced. Jack Watmore, Jason Kerr from Scotland, Tom Naylor, Tande Derikwa. Stephen Humphreys has been a revelation this year for Wigan, really come up trumps. Guion Edwards, Jason Cousins, Tom Pearce, Jamie Jones in goal as well, been a really good backup goalkeeper. Graham Shinney, who they signed from Derby in January. So when I've been to watch Wigan, they've been really, really good in front of goal. They've been clinical. They've got amazing fan base. Really, really good admirers of them. I will stick by looking at Wigan's fixtures next year and wish them all the best. I am going back to watch Bury when they do come back. But Wigan, massive part of my life. I've got family living in Wigan. I've lived in Wigan myself. Really good town, really good fan base, really good people, and I wish you all the best this weekend, and I hope you do go up. I am predicting you to win, but on the other hand, if Plymouth lose and results go against them, they could end up outside the playoffs with one game left. If Wycombe and Sunderland pick up points, they could be outside them playoff places, Plymouth, so they have to be careful. Stephen Schumacher in charge there as well, a former Bury player and assistant coach to Ryan Lowe. All the respect for you players as well and your players, and wish you the best of luck if you get into the playoffs. But I'm going to go with a 3-1 home win for Wigan Athletic. I really hope they can clinch promotion this weekend because they really do deserve it. They played so well this season, and I just hope they get what they deserve, the fans, because they've had a terrible couple of years with the situation off the pitch, being relegated as well with young players, and they deserve to be back up in the Championship where they at least belong. So I'm going to go with 3-1 Wigan Athletic. Okay, we'll go into the last game then, which is Wycombe versus Sheffield Wednesday in the playoffs. What a game this is. Wycombe at home. We'll go through the last 6 results and make a prediction. March the 19th, Wycombe drew 0-0 away at Portsmouth. They then won against Doncaster 2-0 at home. April the 5th, they travelled to Cambridge United and won by 4-1. April the 9th, they drew 1-1 away at Gillingham. April the 15th, they beat Plymouth Argyle in a playoff game, in a massive game in the playoffs, 2-0 at home. And April the 18th, which is recently, they're coming off a 1-1 draw against AFC Wimbledon away from home. Sheffield Wednesday, March the 19th, they drew 0-0 away at Gillingham. March the 26th, they won 4-1 at home against Cheltenham. April the 2nd, they beat Wimbledon by 2-1. April the 9th, they drew 1-1 at Bolton Wanderers. April the 16th, they got a very important win away at MK Dons by 3-2, and recently coming off a 1-0 home win to Crewe Alexandra. So let's have a look at the league table. Wycombe currently sits in 6th place in that last playoff place on goal difference, and Sheffield Wednesday sits in 4th place on 79 points with 43 games played. I do think Sheffield Wednesday will get a playoff place. They still have an outside chance of automatic promotion yet as well, Sheffield Wednesday. And so do Plymouth, to be fair, but I don't think Plymouth will get it. Sheffield Wednesday, really good season. Some really good players they've got there. They've hit form at the right time. They've got players such as Saido Berahino, Lee Gregory, Barry Bannon, Peacock Farrell in goal, Marvin Johnson, George Byers, Jordan Story, Jack Hunt. Some really, really top players. They've got Mendez Lang as well, Che Dunkley. Really, really top players Sheffield Wednesday have got, and they will be one of the favourites for the playoffs. They've got to be the favourites for the playoffs with the team they have. Wycombe Wanderers, good manager in Gareth Ainsworth, has been there a while now and really overachieved with this team. Still in the playoff places on goal difference. They've got players such as Sam Vokes, McCleary as well. Massive win for Plymouth, and I do think Wycombe, and I think if they beat Sheffield Wednesday, they will get that playoff place. But it's going to be really tight because teams around Wycombe are storming down their necks and have games in hand as well. So this is a massive game for Wycombe. Sheffield Wednesday, I think if they win this game, they will secure a playoff place and still have that outside chance of automatic promotion due to the game in hand they have. But I am going to go with a 2-2 draw in this. I don't see anything separating them. Wycombe will want to go for the win. Sheffield Wednesday will want to go for the win, but I just don't see a winner. They want to stop each other. They want to both get something from this game. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw in this one. So that's my predictions for SkyBet League One this weekend. What a weekend it's planning out to be. 2 teams could be relegated. We could have the relegation fight all wrapped up by the end of play on Saturday. We could have a team promoted in Wigan Athletic on Saturday. We could roughly see who our playoff teams are and maybe see who gets that second automatic playoff spot as well as the playoffs. So it'll be really interesting to see how the results plan out. They are my predictions for SkyBet League One this season. For this week, it will be match day 45. So very, very crucial weekend. As I said, there's only 1 week left of this league. But let me know down in the comments or message me on any of my socials, which I will leave down in the description below, about what your predictions are. And if your team is in League One and fighting for any of them places, let me know where you will finish and what your predictions are as well. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe and share the channel as well, because there's loads of amazing content coming this year. I really don't want you to miss it. I really want you to come on this journey with me. Thanks for watching. Catch you again soon.